Hi, and welcome back to our kitchen. Come on in and sit down and help me make this gumbo. What I'm making today is game day gumbo. It's gluten-free, and I'm going to make it in the Instant Pot. First thing you want to do, now this is optional. In regular gumbo, they take the regular flour with the oil, and they usually put a cup and a cup. Well, when you have celiac disease, you can't eat wheat. So alternative would be your rice flours, your 1-to-1 gluten-free flours that you use for baking, and they all work. But what my method is to take a brown rice flour, put it in the oven, and bake it, and then it turns browner and browner. And the thing behind roux is the reason why they do it. Number one, it's a thickener. Number two, it gives the gumbo a nutty taste from the cooking of the flour. So let me take you over and show you how I made my brown rice roux in the oven, and I'll be right back. I'm going to show you how to make a gluten-free dry roux, R-O-U-X. What does that mean? A roux is traditionally used in gumbos to thicken the soup, and it can also be used for your traditional gravies that you make at home, or your soups, or even stews. And I'm going to be making 2 cups of dry. I've got brown rice flour here, and the reason brown rice flour is because it's already brown, and we want to have this dry roux reach not a chocolate color, but a caramel color, and we're going to be using that in our gumbo. And you can use any kind of flour you want. Traditionally it's all-purpose flour, and they use 1 cup of oil, vegetable oil most of the time, or bacon fat or whatever they want, and 1 cup of flour. They put it in a heavy-duty pan, and they sort of boil or fry the flour in the oil. The only problem with that is when your soup is done, you might have some oil floating on the top. This way we're going to cut the oil in half. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my brown flour into the pan, and I'm using a metal pan that I've covered with foil. And I'm going to put this in a 400-degree oven. And you can use a glass pan if you want. I just thought that metal would be better for browning this flour. And what I'm going to do is it's going to go an hour to an hour and a half. I'm going to check it every 15 minutes and stir it. And then you could even shake it like this instead of stirring it if you want. What we want is a caramel color flour. And I'm going to put it in the oven right now, and we'll be back. Okay, my roux, or my dry roux, is finished with the brown rice flour, and as you can see, it got nice and brown. Now, I put it in the oven 400 degrees, and I started smelling it. You got to use your nose when you're cooking. If something smells highly, you can smell it really good, it's in the oven, something's wrong. So I came out and it was really browning too fast. So I lowered my temperature to 350, and this was not in for an hour. It was in for 45 minutes maybe. And that's where you need to use your judgment. Especially with different flours. You need to say, okay, this is it. It's done. But anyway, this is how you make a roux, dry roux, for gumbo. And when I make my gumbo recipe, I'll show you how it's done. Okay, this is my version of a gumbo that Emeril Lagasse did, but it's going to be in the Instant Pot. So it's going to change a little bit. In a typical gumbo recipe, you let it cook on the stove for probably about 3 hours total. The reason I'm doing it in the Instant Pot is I want to be able to put it on warm, keep warm, put it out with bowls and spoons and a ladle, and the people watching the football game can come in and grab a bowl of gumbo. And I wanted something different instead of chili. Chili's the most one that people make for the Super Bowl, or I should say football day. And I wanted something different that they can just grab and go. So first of all, my version is to put it on saute and then add this is smoked turkey sausage because of the less fat content. And I'm going to saute it a little bit. What I want is a little bit of brown on the meat. It tastes better that way. So I'm going to let it sit there for a while. I will add a little bit of oil to it, to the bottom, so we won't have it stick that bad. Already it smells delicious. So let me stir that around. Sorry for the noise, I usually use a wooden spoon. Let it cook a little bit, probably 10 minutes, maybe less. With a paper towel on it. There's still a little bit of grease in the bottom, or oil I should say, and there's also brown bits stuck to the bottom of the pot. Now you know that we don't want that because you'll get the burn notice if you have stuff like that on the bottom of your pot. But don't worry, because when we add the liquids, we can scrape that off. Next of all, I'm going to do the brown rice flour that I showed you how to do, our roux, and it's a 1/4 cup of vegetable oil, and I'm going to use a 1/4 cup of our brown rice flour. Usually they would add a cup of all-purpose flour and a cup of oil, but we want to cut down on the oil, especially with gluten-free flours. And I'm just going to let this start bubbling a little bit. Let it come to a bubble. Of course, I don't want it to burn. So next I'm going to add my vegetables. Yesterday I chopped up everything. I was so proud of myself because it's so hard for me to get around these days. I have a medium onion chopped up. I have a red bell pepper. Typically you would use green, but I don't like the taste. And then a couple stalks of celery with the leaves. This is what they call the Holy Trinity in Cajun cooking. And it's going to add moisture to the bottom of the pot, so we can easily scrape off that stuff that's stuck on the bottom. We'll let this saute for a little bit to loosen up the oils in the liquids in the vegetables. I love gumbo. We never used to have recipes like this in Ohio growing up. It was all like grandma's food, homemade everything. And then the internet came along. That opened up a whole new world to taste other countries' food, get the recipes, and it was very exciting because a lot of the food that I fell in love with is Cajun, Thai, and a lot of that because of the internet. Okay, this is cooked for a little bit. I'm going to add my garlic. This is about 2 to 3 cloves of garlic. You can use less, just diced up. I'm using fresh today. I buy those bags where the cloves are already peeled, and I just dump them out and chop them. Looks like it needs a little bit more oil to it. This is olive oil. You could use vegetable oil. But it just seems like it's dry on the bottom. Yeah, there we go. That's better. Next I want to add some thyme. This is essential. This is essential in Cajun cooking. And I put the dry in my palm and kind of break it up a little bit to release the oils in the seasoning. And then I have my other seasoning we're going to add. And that is 3 bay leaves. I went to Big Lots and I bought a bottle of bay leaves. And that was for $1. And they were not broken up. They came in a cellophane inner package. And I was really quite happy with it. Here I have a teaspoon of Cajun seasoning, teaspoon of black pepper, half a teaspoon of turmeric, which I add to everything because it's healthy for you and you can't even tell it's in there. And then a teaspoon of spicy Montreal steak seasoning that has the red pepper flakes and all that in it. So I'm not going to add any cayenne or anything. That stuff gets me every time. Can of diced tomatoes. And then we're going to add 6 cups of chicken broth. Now I didn't have the containers in my cupboard, so I made this out of better than bouillon chicken base. And if you notice, I haven't added any salt yet. The bouillon has a lot of salt in it, so I'm going to wait till the end to to add that. I'm going to bring this up to a boil and I'll be back. Okay, that's all getting integrated in here. I need to scrape the bottom of my pot. You can feel the crusty stuff on your spoon. And you want to make it all smooth using the liquid that you've added in here. My kitchen smells amazing. Too bad you can't be here. Oh, it takes it off very nicely because you don't want to burn, notice. Next we're going to add, I bought these cans of chicken at Sam's Club. And I'm taking a shortcut today because remember when I cooked the sausage? Typically you would cook the chicken too, because you have about a pound of cut up chicken breast. I took the shortcut, and when I get these in a can, I leave the liquid in it. That's good stuff. And I just take a fork and go in and break the, because there's some big pieces in there, break it apart with my fork, not dirtying another dish. Just using the can. Then we're going to add our smoked sausage back in. Oh my goodness, you should smell this. Okay, I think that's everything for now. I did add a teaspoon of my favorite Dijon mustard to the chicken stock that I had in the big measuring cup with the bouillon, because that's my trademark. It seems like I have to add it to everything. So I'm going to put the lid on this. We're going to time this for 7 minutes because the chicken's already cooked. The sausage is already cooked before you even fry it. And we don't need that long to cook it. So I'm going to put it on pressure cook. First I got to cancel the saute. Then I put it on pressure cook. And I'm going to put it in here for, I'm going to do 7 minutes. Now if you were cooking the raw chicken breast that you cut up, you would have to go at least 10 to 15 minutes because you want to cook that chicken breast. Okay, it's telling me it's on. We just have to wait till it comes to pressure. I like to push down on my lid because that seal needs to seal. And make sure it's on the non-vent. And then wait till it comes to pressure. And then when it comes down, because it's a soup, when this little thing comes down, you got to let it sit there for at least 10 to 15 minutes. Because if you release it quickly, you'll have soup spraying all over the kitchen. So I'm going to come back and we're going to show you what it looks like. Okay, it's been 15 minutes. I did it 15 minutes natural release. And this is what we have. Now, what do you want to do? You've got to taste it. Because remember, we didn't add any salt. I think it's fine. But now we have to add in the parsley. You do this at the end because you want it fresh. You want the fresh taste of it. And a bunch of green, the long green onions. And we're going to stir that in. I've put it on saute. I just want to bring it up to a boil for just a couple seconds. And then I'm going to show you how to plate it up. Okay, our stew is done. I call it a stew, but our gumbo is done. And I'm going to show you how to plate it up. I have a bowl here, and we want to take our ladle, put it in the bowl. Oh, that sausage and the chicken and the red bell peppers. I'm in love. Then we're going to serve this with brown rice because it's less, it's more healthy for you, I should say. And we're going to top it off with our brown rice. And then we're going to add some of those green onions that we chopped up. Just the greens, not the whites, because we already added that into the soup. And then you set this up for your Super Bowl party, or football party I should say. And you put the bowls out, and then you put this stuff, your rice, any toppings you want. You can put sour cream on it if you want, but I didn't do that. But we have a beautiful bowl of gumbo. It's going to be satisfying on a snowy day because we've been getting a lot of snow. in the last 3 days. So I hope you enjoyed it. Please subscribe to my channel. The more subscriptions I get, the sooner I can make any money. And push that like button if you like my video. Please stay to the end because I'm going to add on my end screen my salsa recipe that's great for a football party. Bye.